Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, I think this is like years in the making. I did his podcast, I think during the pandemic. It's all such a blur to me now, but I was recently on his fantastic show and I had the best time. And I needed him to come onto this show to talk about everything, pop culture, Bravo. He pretty much watches everything. His podcast, which you need to go subscribe to now and rate it 5 stars just right out of the gate. It's called Dumpster Dive. It's a reality TV deep dive. And it goes in every which direction. If you just go through the episode list, they cover everything. Shows from yesteryear that we all know and love. He has interviews. He had Wes Wilson from Summer House on recently, which I've got to talk to him about. He's even watching Love Island. So let's get into all of the mess that is pop culture and reality TV. The one, the only, Tom Hamlett is joining us. Tom, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Ryan. You're the ultimate professional. I love that intro. Wow. Thank you.
The ultimate.
You really hyped me up higher than I think I needed. I appreciate it.
I think I was thinking about my tombstone last night, which is really dark, but I was like, on my tombstone.
Do we want to turn the recording off for a second and chat about it?
Yeah. No, I was like, my tombstone, I'm going to put all the pertinent information. And then at the very bottom, please make sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That will be on the tombstone.
Streams are streams when we're gone, the streams still can.
Do you ever think about that, about when, unfortunately, we leave this earth, what is going to live on? Like we talk so much about all of these shows. Like what is your proudest moment in terms of your podcast so far? Like what's the one you're like, that episode I want to be remembered by?
Oh my God, that's so funny. I do think about it though, because we are in the age where our generation is so different than our parents' generation in terms of like what we had. Like we've have so much more like content out in the world. It's too much. Like our parents, like there's nothing out there online of them in like high school. With us, it's like you could essentially make a documentary about me, even though you don't know me, just based on what's on social media, like after I died. So I agree, it is crazy, but what's the proudest moment of the podcast? Honestly, like this is going to sound really cheesy, but my sister and I started it together during the pandemic, and recaps and conversations with just the two of us do make me really happy because it's like a time capsule of so much that we've been through over the past 4 years. And I feel very fortunate that my sister and I are best friends. And so I love that we have this time capsule of like our arguments, our real life drama being brought into the podcast. So that for me speaks volumes of our relationship, and it's a little cheesy, but I really do love that.
No, that's not cheesy at all. Like I think about the my parents coming on all the time in the past. That was like one of the most fun things, was be able to go back and listen to that. You just actually really scared me about documentaries, because now I just figured we could plug all of this stuff into AI and it can make the shittiest documentary about all of our lives.
Oh my God, they could, because we won't be here, and they can like figure something out about. They can take words from our podcast, be like, I did kill her.
Exactly. We're so screwed. And then then you got me thinking about like, what if Twitter was around when our parents were growing up? Like my dad would have been the guy that's like, I like tomatoes. Like he would have been so dumb on it. And my mom, I think, would have been a little more cutting and acerbic potentially. But like we do have way too much of everything. And I can't complain, because it is truly one of the number one loves of my life is pop culture and reality TV shows. But like, think about all the time we would have if none of this existed.
Yeah, what did our parents... Ryan, what the hell did our parents do on Mondays at 5:05?
Yes! Like, just alone with their thoughts all the time. Like
they must have read so much or gone on walks, or what did they do?
Their relationships were stronger. Like, this ridiculous.
But we have relationships tangentially with people across the country, like you and I. We would not be doing this in 1990.
Well, exactly, though. Like, it is, I'm so used to a parasocial relationship more than I am real life relationships. And I know that's horrible, but at the same time, they are kind of real. I mean, we're exchanging ideas and laughs and stuff like that. Hey, is it true that you're running the New York City Marathon?
I am.
What the fuck are you thinking? What are you doing?
You're so funny. My friends will laugh because I feel like it's all I talk about. So you asking that question, I understand you're teeing the conversation up, but I almost was like, oh my god, is he sarcastically making fun of me like the rest of my friends who are like, don't
No,
tell me anything more about the marathon?
no, listen, I like for an audience that potentially doesn't know you yet,
Yeah,
I'm trying to say you don't just sit in front of a TV. You're
I
out there
don't.
actually moving your body, which disgusts me. Why are
I
you doing
know.
this?
I know. I think, well, I love to challenge myself to things and I like to be
Ugh,
active and I like to
ugh,
move my body. It's kind of, it keeps my brain sane, to be honest. The combo
yeah.
between I'll go and run or go to the gym and then I'll come home and curl up in bed and like lay there for like 5 hours just watching Bravo. It's like I move so much so I can move so little, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense because I was talking about this the other day. I was like trying to start to move my body again. And if you move your body early enough in the day, then it gives you permission to be a complete wasteoid for the
One
rest of the
thou
day.
1000%. I go for my run in the morning, and if I'm working from home, that means I can work from bed and put on Love Island while I like work on my computer and just be there the whole day. So I got my
Uh,
steps in. It was just I
I
did it in like an hour period.
I love like I also am trying to get on the step thing again, and
Yeah.
they say that the average person should get 10,000 steps a day, which is completely ridiculous if you think about it, because it kind of is, especially as you get older,
No, it's a
hard
lot.
to hit that 10,000 mark. And if you're just like walking from the bathroom to your bedroom, that's like 30 steps, you guys. You have to pee a lot to get 10,000 steps that way.
You do. I do find though that when I do my like deep apartment cleans, is I can rank up at least 4,000 in that,
Oh,
which is impressive. But like it is harder than you think because you also have to have time. Like 10,000 steps for like an adult male is around like 4 miles, which is like not a short distance of walking.
yeah.
Granted, I live in New York City, so like we have to walk
Yeah.
to get places more than cars, but I can't imagine not being in a place like that. Like it's not as attainable as the doctors want it to seem.
Well, I mean, what's the average podcaster get? The average podcaster, usually, I mean, it's a good day if it's like 2 miles, but I'm out there now trying to hit 10,000 steps again, and it's completely ridiculous. Luckily, I love audiobooks and music. What
Mhm.
is on, like, do you have like, do you listen to things while you're training?
Yeah. I so for when I run like easy run paces, like not too fast, just like going for long runs where I'm trying to just keep a very steady, easy pace. I like to listen to podcasts because when I listen to music, sometimes I get like hype and I need to maintain like a level of serenity. So
Miserableness?
I'll
Oh,
just
serenity.
listen, I'll just listen to like, I don't know, like I listen to like Bravo and pop culture podcasts.
Really?
Ryan, you are in the rotation.
No way. See, I
I'm
find
honest
it
with you.
I find it so hard to listen to other people because I get so scared that I'm gonna like steal an idea, or like because it just kind of permeates like how you
Yeah.
view, or get so angry. Like to me, when I listen to other people's ideas that like I completely go against, it gets me hype and too angry. Like if I hear like New Jersey right now, we are in like another season of like the long going war of all of these ladies.
Mhm.
And it is interesting if you go on social media or even like I'll see clips from other podcasts and I'll just be like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like I'll get so angry about it, which is I think what Jersey is supposed to do nowadays is just get you angry. Are you watching this season?
I'm watching this season and I have a hard stance and I'm really not afraid to speak on it, but I
No.
don't
Well, now I'm kind of scared that you took such a hard stance immediately. What is the hard stance?
I think that Jen and Teresa are just mean girls. I'm sorry. Like I find them to be mean.
Well, you just signed your death warrant, Tom. Like you just, by the way, I completely agree with you, but
I
we can't
know.
be out here in the streets saying that because you literally have a target now on your back. And that's what cracks me up. Back in the old days, we used to be able to dislike housewives and it was part of the game. But if you dislike certain numbers of people on Jersey, you're dead. Like you're
No,
done.
Ryan, I never said I dislike them. I said they're mean girls. You have put
Sorry.
words in my
No,
mouth.
I said Mean Girls too. I like that. No, I appreciate them as housewives. I
Yeah,
just don't
totally. Me too.
understand.
I think that's where I sit with Housewives in Bravo always, and I have friends in the podcast and Bravo
Yeah.
internet space, and also friends not in the internet space that all get mad at me when they're like, I don't understand why you like that person or something like that. And I'm always
No,
like, no, I think you're misunderstanding. I don't like anyone, really. Like, I actually just these shows are comfort to me, and
yes.
like the horrible behavior is comforting to me because I don't act out in that way. So there are characters on these shows that I will always just like love because I just think they make for great television. I don't want to be friends with anyone on the shows. Like, I want to be friends
Yes.
with Ryan Bailey. Like, I don't want to be friends with
Yes.
Teresa.
No, Tom,
I
you
think
you
that's
totally
crazy.
you nailed it. I was talking about this just yesterday. It's like I there's not a point where like I want to now like hang out with Vanderpump Rules cast members. Like I
No,
think back in the day, I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I'm kind of around them. Like that's fun. And then you realize that's no place to live. Like I want to be able to comment what I want to comment, feel what I want to feel,
Mhm.
and not think about like, well, this person, like I met them and they're actually really nice, and the camera just doesn't catch that. That's completely ridiculous because we can only go by what everybody sees. And with Teresa and Jen on Jersey, like last night's insane because Teresa's like, yeah, Jackie better watch her fucking mouth unless she goes against Marge. And then she
I
better,
can't.
but she's so blatant about it. And
I
the
know.
hardcore Teresa fans will be like, she's a genius. Like she's a genius for saying that. I'm like, she's not a genius. She's admitting that she's like literally plotting destruction. I'm so confused.
I know. It confuses me too. And also, I don't know if you saw Watch What Happens Live last week. Jackie was on.
Yeah, I
And
saw it.
Jackie,
Yeah.
oh my God. Jackie literally says, like, she's like talking so highly of Teresa, and Andy's shady ass looks at her and goes, have you seen? He was like, unfortunately, I think you're gonna not like next week's episode or something like that. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, she says some things that I think might upset you. And then lo and behold, last night, she literally is like, I didn't care about her. I need her. I need to be close to her to get to Margaret. It's like we're watching House of the Dragon. It's like literally
but
that.
she's a cog in the wheel. Like Teresa's the general, and we're at war right now. And
We
back
are.
in the day, I also used to appreciate back in the day with early housewives, you really did sense a real friend group. And I mean, I know this is like we talk about this all the time, but there was a real friend group. So when they did get into tiffs, there was real skin in the game. Like, you know, people were using each other, but it was still based on knowing these ladies. They had a real relationship for years and years prior to the show. And I believe, to me, that is just like that. God, that means so much in a show like that, because as an audience member, you feel like, God, this is really skin in the game for these ladies. These are real friendships instead of friendships that are being built because of the show.
Yeah, well, skin in the game now is different. The skin in the game now is to keep a paycheck on the television
Exactly.
you're part of, which is interesting to watch sometimes too. Like, but it's just different, and it can warrant some like bad behavior. And I think that that's kind of what we're dealing with Jackie right now. Is it kind of feels like, and I also used to be like I loved Jackie on these shows for like a while, but for now she is also bothering me because I'm like, you're feeling a little clunky. Your efforts to stay on this television program. I just don't like when it feels clunky.
You can, well, no, that's a perfect description, but you can win the show or you can win the audience. You can't do both. Like, so Jackie, in a way, won the show because by going on Teresa's side, she's able to actually be back on the show again. Because Jackie was like kind of infamous, or like for that one scene where she's like, oh, if Gia was doing blow in the bathroom in college and Teresa's like fuming. I mean, she really went up against Teresa. And then to take such a pivot, for Teresa to even accept that pivot is hysterical, but it works. She's back on the show, but the audience can see it from a mile away going like, really, Jackie? You're going to like really just turn that hard?
Yeah, it's hard to watch. And it doesn't make her look particularly good.
No.
Especially aligning with someone who is so blatantly talking behind your back about using you. It's like you guys are just using each other. So I kind of don't know what we're doing here. And I don't know that it will come out in this season because we're not getting a reunion. I would have loved to have seen reactions to each other talking, like, and acknowledging the use of each other. You know what I mean? But we're not going to get that, unfortunately.
Well, one last thing about Jersey. Well, you just actually mentioned the reunion. I still am like petitioning for Andy. We have the technology. When we have these scenes, I don't want the audience to be shown the clip. I want to watch them on stage watch the clip. Like, I want to see Jackie's face when that scene plays where Teresa's going, she better be coming for, she better be on my side or this or that. And like last night, we had the fight between Danielle and Jen Aiden. And it was pretty intense. Like Danielle, it looks like glass shattered once Jen Aiden pushed her. I want that to be slowed down and watch. See, Jen, you pushed her first, right? We see that all as a group
Right.
because I think these days everybody just lies blatantly, even though it's been filmed. Like I want them to acknowledge that we're all seeing the same thing.
I know 2 seconds later, Jen was like, well, I think I might have pushed her, but I don't know that I did.
And she goes, well, if she said that, that would actually warrant a push, wouldn't it? And Bill Aiden looks like he's so bored. Bill Aiden just like, oh, again?
He's
Again?
like, this lady pushes me all the time.
He's like, I'm allowed to break a glass over her head. I didn't know that was one.
I didn't know that was in our permissions.
It's so weird. So Jersey is a mess. Like I'll watch it until the end of time, but it's
Yeah,
I don't
of
even know what
course.
I'm watching. And I think sometimes we see this with Vanderpump and everything, and even the audience. We've gotten out of hand with the term fourth wall. Like
Mhm.
fourth wall just used to be a term in high school when I was doing theater, where
Yes.
be like, what do you see on the fourth wall? You've got to imagine the exterior and don't see the audience. But now everything is fourth wall breaking. And the audience is so fervent about their passion for these shows. And we've come to a point where it is just kind of arguing about the shows themselves rather than actual actions happening. We also see that in Summer House a little bit as well, as we're starting to fight over brand deals, Lindsay and Carl, who's an influencer, who isn't. You also had Wes Wilson on your show, and I was listening to this. When did that interview take place?
So a little behind the scenes, I had been like chatting with him to come on the podcast pre the reunion airing.
Was this like flirty? Like, were you like flirty DMing with Wes Wilson? Because everything he
No.
does is flirty.
Yeah, I wish. Oh my god, but like, no, I was flirting with his PR team, if you want to put it that way. No. I reached out to him before the reunion aired because I wanted to see if we could get him on the podcast because he's like a breakout. He's such a breakout star of the show. I
Yeah.
mean, he had a great first season, despite the reunion, and everything that happened there. But then the reunion happened, and I was like, oh, well, I still definitely want to chat with him because I need to kind of hear perspective now. So we filmed it. We did it like the day after the part 2 aired. So.
Oh, okay. So that's amazing. So you did it after it aired.
Yes.
What was your sense of him in terms of the extreme reaction? And I think in sometimes a valid reaction based on reality show fans.
Yeah.
What was your sense? Did he seem dismayed? What was his vibe?
Yeah, he was not like, I think he is scared a little bit still about he went in so blind to this reality show, which I think is what made him a good like character on this season. It's I think refreshing for a lot of people was because like he didn't have much context for how these shows were filmed, like what was real, what wasn't. Like he didn't even like really know what Bravo was. So like he went in pretty blind, which made it good for the show, but then didn't make it good for the reunion performance and also for his interactions with the fans. And so generally he was frightened. I tried to calm his nerves a little bit though, because like I was like, reunions are tough for anyone because it's you film a whole season of a show where you are exhibiting normal behavior. You're existing in scenes. You're going to happy hour. You're going to dinner. You're going on vacations. You're hanging out with friends. That's like things we do in life. But a reunion is not something we do in life. We don't sit down with a group of friends.
I wish. Wouldn't that be amazing?
No, I want to. I want to make that clear. I want that.
Wouldn't that be amazing every year?
But we don't have someone sitting in between our friend group and being like, so when you were in Mexico and you went back to the hotel room and you bitched about your friend Steph, come talk to Steph about that. Like, it's like, that's not something we do. So like, I was like, you got through it. It was your first one. But I think in general, he has some trepidations about like what this show is now that he's like a star on it. But
well, I mean, when you said he really wasn't aware of Bravo or what he was getting into, in this in the year of our Lord 2024, I really don't know how much I buy anybody not knowing what Bravo is or what it does, or especially for a man like that, dating a lot of women in the city that probably all are very aware of Bravo. Like, listen, I don't like country music, but I'm aware of what the country music channel is. Like, I'm
I
aware of what that is about. Like, do you
yeah.
really believe that he seems very quick? He seems very with it. Like, do we really believe he doesn't know about Bravo going into this?
I don't know. I see both sides of it, to be honest with you, because like there are people that I know in just life that like would not know who Luann de Lesseps is, which to me feels like a
Horrible
bizarre
people.
world you're living in. And I don't know why you're like taking joy from your life actively. Like you could be living such a more joyful life if you knew about Luann de Lesseps. Sorry, but um so I kind of see it. He's like he really is like a bro, and he's also only
Yeah.
28 years old. Like who's didn't like grow up probably with the housewives eras that I did in the circles that by circles
Yeah.
I mean just me alone sitting in the bedroom watching Bravo, but he was playing sports. Like I don't know, I can see him not knowing it, but I think there is a naivety that of going onto a show and not expecting there to be any sort of like backlash.
Yeah.
There's like a level of like kind of straight pompous elitist to go onto something and not think
Yeah.
that someone might be mad.
Well, I mean, that by the way, that makes usually a good reality star when they're
Yeah.
a little oblivious to like what they're headed into. We usually get a lot more reality out of them. Was there anything that you had to cut out of the episode?
No. We did it all.
Yeah,
I was like I hadn't done I don't do a ton of interviews with Bravo people because I get trepidatious about like headlines, and I'm not trying to be in the mix like on a reunion. Like I don't need someone to be like this clip from Dumpster Dive. I'm like the exposure sounds nice for a second, but I'm like I'm not trying to be a part of
yeah,
like someone's drama. So we talk just a lot about like him and his life and like
yeah.
what brought him to reality, and then touched on like the Sierra stuff and Carl and Lindsay and all that. But no, we left everything in, and it's a great chat. Like I think it gives like a good insight of like kind of who he is and where he's going to go heading into next season. The big kind of thing that he spoke about was that he and Sierra have not spoken obviously since everything happened on the reunion stage, and they're due for a chat when they start filming again, hopefully. So
if you were Sierra's friend, what would you tell her going into this season if West is back?
I would say talk to him like day one, get it over with, and just live up like your full on fucking hot girl summer in front of his eyes and see what he missed out on. Like, but I am not, as someone who's gone back to men before when I shouldn't have, I try and guide others away from that.
Yes,
behavior. We shouldn't do that. Like you learned a lot about him. You had a great time, and you got played, and he played you, and did it on TV. So, like, and people play people all the time too. It's not like random it just happened to be on television. And I would just tell her if I was her friend, I would be like, I think you should just not see him again. But I think that because of the show, we as fans want to like see them try it out, see this. It's like I think they just both should just go and do something different and just live separately.
And Sierra, I feel like came out of this really on such a not personal, but like in terms of the Bravo audience, we all like kind of looked at her in a very different light, which I was like, wow, her stock raised in so many people's eyes, I think. But yeah, like the further you get away from it, it's like, oh yeah, West is a 28-year-old like white-blooded American football player that literally I want to know West's body count a year ago and what it is now. Like I want to know how many more people he has slept with.
I know that should have been in the outline. I should have asked that.
See, those are the questions that you're like, it's not appropriate to ask. But Mike, like literally, how many people have you slept with in like the last 2 months, the last 3 months, the last 4 months? Because I think you'd see some huge numbers there.
Well, I mean, I hope so. Like that's half the point, right?
He better be out there laying it down. Like, but you just don't want like ever like a bunch of Bravo like females and males to like also have like a special episode where they all come forward saying that they slept with you on the off season.
Yeah, I would listen to that episode though. So if you'd like to put that together offline, I'm happy to help.
You've given me so many ideas. I keep thinking in the back of my head is that I really do need to get my family and friends together for a reunion every year of like just going through the key moments of the year.
I really think there are levels of I think there's a lot of positive to it, to be honest with you. Like I think we make fun of these people for getting over shit too quickly on these shows and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're filming with that person again. But like when we have beef with our friends, we don't really ever address it. Maybe ever, or we like we'll just be like, they fucking annoyed me today, and you move on. But then they annoy you if you're filming, they annoy you today, and you go and talk about it in a confessional about 5 months later, and then it becomes a thing on Twitter, and then you have to talk about it at the reunion. So, like, I kind of see the like benefit of addressing things, but I don't know there are some fights that are worth having and some aren't, which is where I think I can't quite figure out where I land on the real life reunion.
Well, that's why we're such a good fan base, though, because we are completely ridiculous in the sense that we never recognize how purely insane our own lives are. Like we're so quick to dish out the judgment and just like, oh, that's so ridiculous. How dare Wes do this? Or how dare this person do that? Not realizing that we have like just been just as, or if not more insane than some of these people living their lives. Mm-hmm. It's just that ours is not directly on camera.
Yeah, which I think I want to keep it that way. Are you like ever interested in being on camera?
Hell no. Are you fucking... I don't even like that we've like now moved to like video podcasting. Like that also... I talk about that all the time. If you see my picture on my Instagram, just know that a lot of pain has gone into like me hitting that send button because I hate it. Like I hate it so much. And I'm also too lazy to like learn how to like Facetune and stuff. So like I hate it. I hate it.
Wait, no, I can't handle the Facetune. I don't think anyone. I need to see what people look like. Okay, like let's be real about that. And the video podcasts are. I get it because I watch YouTube recaps and shows on YouTube where people talk, and I get that. But I do think there's a time for us to kind of like return to form. The podcast is an audio format.
Yeah. I mean, like I romanticize the audio format of it, even though that now everything's in video. Mm-hmm. But it's good that we can do both. I guess that's good. And if it's in this format, great. I just think that influencer lifestyle where you have the camera and you're going to get an acai bowl and like go about your day with like a voiceover underneath the whole video. That's where I find a hard leap.
I know. I agree. Did you see the video of Rihanna at that fashion show where she's taking the video? If you haven't seen it, guys, it's like just literally Google Rihanna like filming video. It's all over the internet right now. But she's like she's trying to film and then she just starts flipping her phone like, above her head. And I have to be honest with you, like that is me trying to make any sort of reel. Like when the kids do like the 0.5 selfies.
Oh, I know.
And I see them online and I'm like, wait, that looks so cute. Like aesthetically, I get what they're doing. And then I do it. And I look like I have like an arm growing out of my like left nostril. And I'm like, what is going on?
And it's so natural for them. Like, yeah, like if somebody was explaining the 0.5, I was like,
you just go like that. And I'm like, I do it. And I look like an orc from Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, what?
Everybody makes fun of like Sheena like wanting her good side on camera. And I'm like, I don't even know what my fucking good side is. Like, I don't even like that's how far I like to stay away from things. I just assume that all side is a bad side. So let's not do any sides. Like, let's just do the audio podcast. Okay, skipping now to we're off Summer House, even though I'm so excited that they're potentially starting up in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
We also, let's see, where do we want to go here? We've got, so you said you're watching Love Island. Are you watching USA and UK or just USA?
No, not UK, just USA. I can only commit 6 hours a week to them, not 12.
I'm doing both, and it's like I'm struggling. It's a lot of Love Island.
Not that great this season, or it's kind of like meh.
No, it's meh. It's fine. It's fine. Like the hard sell for Love Island is to get people in it because it's like you said, 6 hours a week. And it really pays to start from the beginning. But once you're into that fourth episode, USA actually got me pretty immediately. I think in the second or third episode where I actually cared. Did you watch last night's episode?
No. I'm wait, what's today? Today's Monday. I'm one episode behind.
Oh,
It's
you
not
got it.
my
The
side.
end of last night's episode is tearing Love Island apart. We had tears from everybody. The amount of seriousness in which they take themselves, I find hysterical. It
It
is
is
so funny.
it is crazy. But my heart goes out to them because I do understand. I have to understand. Like I'm a very intense person, and when I have hyperfixation. So like if I'm like right now, I'm hyper focused on Love Island. Like I'm just like consuming it and
Yeah.
loving it, right? If I was to film a show like that where I don't have a phone, I don't have like contact with anyone. I can't bed rot and watch a show. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like walking around in a Speedo, like talking to people about whether or not I want to marry them. It would take me approximately 12 hours to get fully invested. Like
Well, no, you
I
can
would be
tell it's
all
like
in.
the cast feels like they've been waterboarded to accept that they, the one goal is to find love here.
Right.
So it is that kind of intensity. They've really bought into the concept of the show. And if you were to sell it to the audience, because I don't even like, I'm still trying to find out how to sell it to the audience that listens. How do you describe Love Island to people?
Well, I think this season is a great starting point as someone who doesn't watch all of them. I kind of like hop in and out because it's a bunch of like um just kind of hot idiots trying to have conversations that sustain 6 hours of television. And like
You
it
did it.
becomes
That's
so
a good sell. You did it. That is it. That is
like
it.
wait, there's a scene that I keep thinking about because it's made me laugh so hard. And I love her, but this scene really killed me. There's this woman, Janae, and she's talking to this like Clark Kent looking guy in like see
Yeah.
episode 3. And he says, he's like, I like really like to read. And she's like, no way. Like I like to read too. And he's like, what are you reading right now? And he's like, this is gonna sound so fucking crazy, but like I'm reading the dictionary.
Or
And
the
he's like,
one.
and he just like looks like he lost all brain cells, and he's like zoned out. And she's like, no, like I just started the beginning and I just read. It's like, well, no shit. Like that's how you read the dictionary. I mean, I guess like that's how you read any book.
She's an amateur. I start at the middle. Like you don't start at the beginning. Like they had a conversation on a couple days ago with one of the new bombshells, and she was talking about how much she's like, I'm a movie buff too. My dad took me to movies all the time. And then they were like, he was like, do you like Star Wars? She's like, I love Star Wars. That's weird. We both love Star Wars. Not a lot of people like Star Wars. And I was like, wait, do not a lot of people know what Star Wars?
But Ryan,
like,
you have to realize they live in a world where like everyone's just on like TikTok all day, like taking like thought photos. Like while you and I are like in the trenches watching like Rogue One the second time. Like like I don't think the hot people do watch Star Wars.
But it's like Star Wars considered like an art house film to these hot people. They're like, ooh, like a foreign film. That's amazing. And Ariana is killing it as a host. What are you thinking about Ariana so far?
Well, one, she's never looked better, and not that like that matters at all, but like I can't stop thinking about like last week when she did that like black lingerie moment where she wears this like bodysuit that is like see-through essentially, and then she has this like fur, like faux fur, not faux, it's like feathers actually, like it's some sort of feathers like lingerie thing that she just drags behind her, and she looks unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, go look at Love Island's Instagram. But like the looks are killing it, and she actually she's talked about how she loves the show, so like I think that brings a level to it when she's like hosting the challenges and stuff, or the pairings. What are they called? The where you pair off. I can't remember. When people go home, like she seems like authentically like engaged.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I was
just
saying.
There
Like
for a check.
Well, I remember talking to her about Love Island like before any of this would happen. Like she was watching Australia, she was watching UK. Like this legitimately she's a fan of, and I was like, what a dream. Like she's had a year of dream gigs. Like she's always wanted to be on Broadway, always wanted to be a host. And that's why like no matter what happens with Vanderpump Rules, it kind of is this amazing ascension that I think she deserves, but like she's also delivering. Like it's one thing to get these opportunities and then suck at them, but it's another thing to get these opportunities and actually be an amazing part of it.
Totally. And she's solidified herself as like a mainstay here. Like in positive, she'll be back because like she's crushing it. And I'm sure it's brought more numbers to the show because so many people love her too. So
yeah, I mean, it looks like it's #1 every day on Peacock on the streaming service. So I don't know what that means, but it seems like it's good because they give you like the top 10. Did you watch Traitors this season?
Of course, Ryan.
Okay, good.
No.
Well, they just finished season 3. If
Yes.
you're in the Los Angeles area, just want to everybody be warned. Tom Sandoval is out and about, so make sure you hold your loved ones close. Make sure you warn your sons and daughters. He is back on U.S. soil. What are you looking forward to in Traders? By the way, people realize like Traders films in like 3 weeks. It's like a really quick filming schedule, so they're already done. Who are you looking forward to in terms of seeing on Traders season 3?
Well, Bob the Drag Queen is like one of my favorite winners of Drag Race, and I'm a
Which, by the way,
huge
you cover Drag Race on your show.
Yes, we've done some couple. We've more than anyone. We've actually had a lot of queens from Drag Race on the podcast. So check out. We have interviews with Detox and Laganja Estranja. So if you're a Drag Race person, we talk about that too. Drag Race. I've been watching since the beginning because I was like a America's Next Top Model head, which Drag Race kind of in the early stages was a nod to that. And then it's just I've been with them for the long haul. So Bob is one of my favorite winners. So I'm really anxious to see how he does. He has a very he just knows gameplay really well because on the podcast with Monet Exchange Sibling Rivalry, they talk a lot about how they both love just like board games and strategy games and going on a show like Survivor or a show where they can like manipulate and things like that. If people don't suss him out in the beginning, I'm hopeful that he can last a while. And then I also think Chriselle is going to be bizarrely good, like because she had a very successful last couple seasons on Selling Sunset, being kind of like the villain almost. So I'm anxious to see that performance. And then Dorinda,
I mean, she lived in her car. I mean, she can do anything. She lived in her car as a kid. She's ready to get in the muck.
Yeah, she can hang. Dorinda, I'm anxious about to see. She can only have, I think, she can only have 2 glasses of wine, which is not a lot for her. So she might not actually be crazy.
What? Well, by the way, because I know she really wanted to do this. So I know she's like amped. So I'm curious. Like, it could go one or two ways. She could like really bring it because I think that's what they expect her is to like really get into it. But I'm wondering if that's going to be good gameplay or if she's going to completely upset people and she'll be on the wrong end of her anger sometimes.
Yeah. And the thing, I totally agree with you. And the thing about Traders is that I think we're still trying to understand how you actually play the game because the game is very one-sided. Like Traders have a very obvious like benefit in the game over the Faithfuls. And then the Faithfuls oftentimes, I think, play the game kind of bizarrely. Like they just accuse so many people of being traitors when in reality, like you want to be friends with the traitors because they won't kill you because they need numbers. What you want to do is kick out people that just like are fucking annoying and then they're gone. And then you have your group of people you trust in the house, like towards the end. Because the traders want to keep people they trust in the house because they can still take money from them.
Yeah,
I just think the mindset is sometimes bizarre at the banishments, how they always want to get rid of a traitor when I think they should try and get rid of annoying faithfuls who don't benefit their game going to the end, you know?
Well, that's why, I mean, like, I didn't really appreciate the gameplay until after this second season. I went back and I started watching the UK one. Mm-hmm. I watched the Australia one, and then I was like, oh, I mean, you could really get into the gameplay aspect of this. And I don't think, even though I thought the second season was so fantastic, I loved it, the gameplay was lacking if you compare it to the UK and the first season of Australia, because it was so, you're like, oh my God, you really can come in with a plan. You can really have all of this laid out. And I think a lot of the celebrities going in really didn't probably do their due diligence and recognize what this show was, what really was.
Yeah. Australia season 1. If those listening have not seen it, I'm not going to spoil it because I really encourage you to watch it, but it has a wild, like the cast is a cuckoo crazy bunch of Aussies. And like there's a medium in the house that does some crazy shit.
The medium, by the way, the medium was, guys, the medium, I would love to know what the medium is doing now.
That would be a get for this podcast. I'm sure that she would do it, to be honest with you. I feel like she's waiting for someone to give her a ring. No, she was crazy. But they have like, there's a way that the game kind of unfolds at the end. It's so good. And it's a great season.
the second season of Australia goes off the rails. Like
Oh,
it completely.
I
Oh,
didn't
you
finish
got to
it.
watch the second season because Hannah Ferrier I mean, it really is a
Yes.
mess. It got me so furious by the end. But the first season of UK Traders, you guys, the winner of that is actually in Love Island USA. He is, which is actually great to see him there. And it is interesting. Now we have enough like decades of reality show history that the reality show pipeline has increased. There are so many shows that you can now make a living going towards. For like, there was a little bit of a hiccup, like, about 15 years ago because you had like Celebrity Fit Club. You could have gone to Celebrity Intervention. There's a lot of different celebrity shows. And then that was like really dangerous. And then we had a little bit of a break. And then I think Celebrity Apprentice was in there. But now I feel like we're back in that fold because you have Netflix, Hulu, all of these streaming services that these people can now make their yearly nut by just being passed around to all of these shows. Do you like that we live in that kind of age, or are you kind of like, it's too much, man?
Right. It's tough for me to get past you saying yearly nut. But
well, it's Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey makes her yearly nut every November and December. Like that's
she
her
does.
yearly nut.
I understand what you meant, but I did have I clutched my pearls when you said yearly nut.
Shout out Wes Wilson. Shout out.
Shout out. He's had a couple yearly nuts this year, I think. No, I love the format of like mashups of reality because as someone who I pretty much have dialogue and like context for most reality like universes. I've seen pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So when these shows get thrown together, I'm like, oh my God, I love everyone here. Like I had friends that didn't know Bravo really and were watching Traders last season. And so they were asking me, they're like, okay, can you tell me a little bit about Sheree? Can you tell me about Phaedra? Can you tell me about MJ? And so like, but it's so funny that this is their first entry to those people. But then I also have friends who are Bravo people who didn't understand how amazing Sandra is at playing games like this.
I didn't know Big Brother is a huge blind spot for me. So like, I was like unaware of the legend of, the players that were there this past season. So it was great to actually learn a little bit about that from them. But it was really funny because you had that Housewives clique. But then the Survivor clique, Parvati and, Sandra with the bracelets. I've got bracelets on Sandra. I love it. And I just like the casting. If I was one of these like agents for Reality Star, this has got to be the number one show you would want to get your client on at this point.
Oh, completely. Because everyone is watching it because it's like a meeting of the minds of like all reality. There's a new, there's not new. There's someone on the new season that just filmed of Traders, Brittany. She's from Big Brother. You're gonna really like her if you don't know Big Brother context.
I don't.
She's an amazing Big Brother player, and I think she's gonna do really well because she's very, very nice. But her confession, she's known on Big Brother for having like the most hilarious like cutting confessionals where she just like drags everyone for being dumbasses. So she's going to be, I can just see her dragging Dorinda like in the confessional chair in her in the Scottish mansion. I'm excited.
Do you think within like how many minutes into the episode do you think Dorinda will bring up Bluestone Manor?
We should Price Is Right this and like literally check back in 8 months. I'm gonna give it 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
It really depends on when they introduce her coming into the castle.
That's true.
If she's like the first in the castle, I give it a minute and a half. But if she's the last, I give it 7.5 minutes because obviously we're going to tell the stories of the other people. But I think we're going to get Bluestone Manor name drops 3 to 4 per episode.
1000%. She's gonna be like, "Oh, this reminds me of that chair I have in Bluestone Manor."
Give me another drink. The bar's always open at Bluestone Manor.
Yeah. Everyone here except you are invited to Bluestone Manor.
Yeah, Tom Sandoval, get the fuck out of my face, Tom.
Wait, what do you think? I think he is going to be so bad at the game, Tom, but I could see him honestly being like a charade and lasting for kind of a while because everyone was just like, this dumb idiot has no idea what is up, what is down, where he's at. He's just happy that someone else wanted him on the show.
Well, and just like Bluestone Manor, how long into the episode do you think Tom Sandoval will talk about him cheating on Ariana?
Oh, that's going to be... Well, I don't... Let's see. I'm going to go shorter than Bluestone Manor, actually, maybe. maybe 2 minutes and then 45 seconds.
because because in the like unseen like footage or like the secrets revealed episode of this past season, they had a scene with Tom where he was flirting on a hostess or flirting with a hostess, and his big talk to her was he's like, "Yeah, dude, I just got out of a 9-year relationship because I cheated on her. It made CNN. I don't even know why it was news, dude." Like he like immediately came out with it. I was like, "That's how you start off a relationship? Is you immediately go into I cheated on a 9-year relationship?" So I imagine he's going to say it to everybody immediately at the castle.
Yeah, he will. I wonder, and I love when the reality stars don't know each other, and I'm curious to hear what reality stars don't know him specifically and have to like learn about in real time his shenanigans. That I always get excited by that.
And will he dare flirt with anybody? Will he dare like, "Oh, dude, Chriselle, you've got the moves, dude."
And then Chriselle's gonna be like, G Flip is gonna come beat the shit out of you.
Oh, G Flip, dude, I'm a musician too. Maybe we could like jam together or something.
He better not try and get a collab with G Flip. G Flip is legitimately very talented, and Tom
Yeah.
Sandoval is, trying.
Well, I have to say though, like that's what's so great is that it makes you look at reality stars in a different light. It's like that's why I also liked Ultimate Girls Trip, because it made me reappreciate people I had written off in terms of like who they are and what they represent to these shows. And so I'm curious, and I will say at this point, it's kind of like Jax Taylor. I do find it incredibly entertaining to watch Tom Sandoval. But at the same time, in reckoning with that, I have to also realize we're pumping money into the Tom Sandoval economy. We're making him more successful. And I sometimes wonder why he does keep getting these opportunities. When I'm like, well, I would have liked to have seen Sheena on there as well. I would have liked, if you're going to pick a Vanderpumper, why is it always Steve Sandoval? Is it just because his name is more recognizable now because of Sandoval?
I think for the layperson, he's like an obvious like. I say layperson, but I more mean someone who has their sanity with them and doesn't consume media like we do. He's an obvious touchstone. Like I think people generally all know what Scandival is now. Like I have coworkers that I had to like educate about. I had to pull out the like web behind me and be like, this is this person. They did this and that did that. So like I think it gets viewers, but I want that for Sheena though, because I love Shishu very much, and I want her on all these shows. I think she would be a fantastic addition to a Traders, and I actually think she would do very well.
What do you think makes a good reality star for you?
It's a blend of you have to be delusional about your the scope of your impact, right? But then you also have to be like down to earth enough to just want to exist authentically. And like that's why I'm gonna tree huggers, I'm gonna come back to you for 1 second, okay? Where I give Teresa her credit is she can try to play the game as much as she can, but she's always very authentically her. She's just very watchable when she's like doesn't know how to pronounce a word, or like is like trying to like do like she stumbles like Vicky does, lives authentically. This is her life. Like when they're that authentic on camera, they're hard to, turn away from. So a blend of delusion and also like authenticity.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the authenticity, it's like me and you might not like ever choose to live our lives that way, but they can't help but live their lives that way because that's who they are. Right. And so that's what I really appreciate. Like, yeah, Vicky Gunvalson is another perfect example. Lisa Barlow to me, like these people that are like Sheena, like, what Sheena's motivations are. And at the end of the day, Sheena isn't evil, but she can't pretend that she's not who she is. She's always been the person that wants to be on stage, that wants to be in TV and commercials. She's always wanted that. So of course, that's where her motivations lie. But she also, you can see that internal struggle at all times. Is she being a good friend? Like, is she? And she always then ends up screwing up a friendship because she's so worried about being a good friend.
I know. And I think we need to give Sheena her credit. I think the cast isn't always like the show started because of her, kind of like it was like a story around her. Like we knew who she was because of Brandy and Eddie Cibrian. Like the show's premise, the pilot wouldn't exist without that brilliant turn around like the back into the kitchen where you followed her and the rest of the Sir crew at that party. Like she is the glue that keeps a lot of that together. And I think because she can be very, delusional, people think that she I think people write her off. I just
Yeah.
love her. I think she's one of our great reality TV stars.
I completely agree. And also, she had the inciting incident in that first episode. If she did not have that connection with Brandy and Eddie, the show would have it would have been even a harder sell already. But that inciting incident took us right in. She admitted to something that is, a very hard truth of like a lot of people's lives about a cheating scandal. And Brandy, somebody that we'd known and kind of loved at that time in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the show would not exist. Now, the same thing, we had like a backdoor pilot from Vanderpump Rules into Summer House. And on your show, Dumpster Dive, you are going back from the very first season of Summer House. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're just watching. We were hopping around, just doing like one-off episodes of different shows that we haven't seen in a while. But right now we decided we're just going to cover like the full first season of Summer House, since Summer House had such a big season this year, and I think it's fun to go back and rewatch and revisit the way like Carl and Lindsay were interacting with each other 8 years ago. So yeah, we're starting from the beginning, just doing season 1. We're not going to do the whole series, but I actually have never seen season 1.
Okay, see, from what I remember, Tom, is that season 1, I see now you make me want to go back. I got to listen to this and maybe go back and start watching it again, because I remember it being a slow burn. I remember, and I might be actually more probably apt at like really enjoying it now that I know all these characters this well. But I remember it being kind of this weird slow burn for a little bit at Summer House.
I thought that too, because I didn't come into Summer House until halfway through like the pages for season 3, and then I was like, oh, should I care about this show? It seems like people like it, and then I got fully into it. So now that you're kind of sold on the premise, you understand it, going back, it goes down easy, and they are like they're like fighting, like they're like things are happening. It's not boring. It's just it lacks the sheen that it has now. They're very much just like they have to leave at 5 p.m. on a Sunday because they must be at their 9 to 5 in the morning, when now they're like all influencers and can influence from the car. But
what do you see with like from Carl and Lindsay in those beginning episodes? What do you see?
Yeah, two things that jumped out to me. One is Lindsay's relationship with Everett is very similar to her relationship with Carl. And I didn't know that because I didn't really know Everett that well because I didn't watch season 1. And she talks a lot about how they were friends for a really long time, her and Everett. And then they had only been dating for 2 months before they started filming the season. Like episode 1, Kyle is like, this is so weird that you guys are together. Like it replicates Carl and Lindsay in many ways. He's like, I don't understand. Like, this is crazy that you guys are together. And then of course what happens, Lindsay in episode 2 is talking about marriage and babies. And it's like it really mirrors like her situations with Stravy as well as with Carl. So
Stravy, you guys, is the sandwich guy from a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, sorry. Not everyone may know who Stravy is. Like us, Ryan. But then the other thing that I found very interesting was, well, actually there's a couple of things. Kyle and Amanda is in the first episode because he like brings her home from the bars because they were dating and he broke up with her to film the show so he could go screw around, which kind of also sounds like something West Wilson.
By the way, you do. I mean, like that. I would love that bro conversation between Kyle and Wes of like, as you grow up as a man, West, here's what I've learned.
Right. I was watching it and I was like, Kix, that's my sister's name. I was like, Kix, this is kind of like West, isn't it? And she's like, wait, no, you're absolutely right. And then the other part is Carl is talking about his engagement, which kind of came up, I think, this season, or maybe I heard it online, or I can't remember, but
I think it was on the after show or something. Like, it was mentioned.
He was planning on proposing to someone and backed out on the private plane to the proposal. Which is crazy.
So he's felt this feeling before, potentially.
He's familiar with the high stakes engagement breakup. Yeah.
And Carl comes in pretty hot, right? Like he's a partier in the beginning.
Yeah, we've only covered we've only recorded on the first 2 episodes yet. He hasn't had that edit yet totally, but he is right now courting one of the Workus sisters, which I don't know if you remember the Workus.
No, I remember the Workus twins.
Forget about the Workus twins. They have she says this in the show. Lauren Workus is like, I'm 6'1" and I have a 32G. G as in giraffe. Like that's how big my titties are. I'm like, what a wild way to enter into a show, but I have to applaud you for it.
That's you're actually selling me on this. So you guys will be covering that over on that's kind of amazing. God, I was like thinking about the third season when Carl used to pull Paige into the pantry closet to make
Love
out with
it.
her. And I
Yes.
forgot they used to make out even. Like it's such a sordid history with that crew.
So I have so many, being in New York, I have a couple connections to the cast. Like I'm like
Okay.
one person removed from like a couple people. My someone I work with, I should say, was the person that was dating who was Paige's boyfriend that was on the show for a long time. That they
Oh,
ended
the
up getting married.
Miami guy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. My coworker was like the one that the other woman he was dating, and he chose to be with Paige over her. Like, and they kind of talked about it on the show a little bit, that there was like a situationship or something that went
Yeah.
like awry. And then I also have another friend who was on the show who was the
Steven?
girl, the berries
Oh yeah.
instructor that Carl didn't end up dating. Do you remember that? She like stayed
Yes,
over
I
at the
totally
house.
yes.
Yeah. And she had some
What
very interesting behind the scenes tea on all that.
can you give any like one piece of tea
I
potentially?
think, yeah, what she said was like there was a lot of conversations about staying in the house and like about the camera's logistics, and how she couldn't talk about on the show, like, I don't want to stay like overnight. I'm not getting paid, and there's like Nest cams like watching me sleep. Like I just don't know that like I want to be here. Like, and but then like I think people were upset that she wouldn't like further the story of their love arc, so.
I got to tell you though, it is interesting, like the camera placement in Summer House with those cameras at the, in the corners of the room. But Love Island USA has that, like they have like 100 cameras everywhere. So it's
Mhm.
like not like there's camera guys, but it's also like these placed cameras, you guys, so they can get like intense close-ups. Like they
Yeah.
can keep zooming in, zooming in. And I also appreciate like the Summer House, like nighttime stuff when people weren't afraid to have sex. Like, and also
Totally.
even Below Deck does this a little bit just with them getting in and out of their bunks where you're like, oh, I shouldn't be seeing this much underwear. Like, but at the same time, you're like, oh, this is part of the format. So it is interesting to have somebody like Jesse in there in Summer House. He actually did the hippity dippity in the jacuzzi, I think, with that lady this season.
Yeah, he was kind of like, I don't really care. Let's just
He
figure
was,
it out.
he's like, I got to make my yearly nut
Yearly
tonight. You know
nut.
what I'm saying? Yeah. Which, by the way, to remind people, I think I'm not mistaken, Carl has 3 balls.
Carl does have 3 balls and Jesse has 1. So together they make 2 men.
Bro, more life, dude. If you need one of my nuts, dude, I'm always here for you.
Thank God we rid ourselves of More Life. It haunts me that they put that framed photo of More Life in their apartment.
Yeah. If you have relationship catchphrases in your place of living, that's like a bad sign. That and recording each other's fights. Those are both bad signs.
1000%. What was the painting in Shorts and Katie's? That one.
Oh, the Bubba, which by the way got thrown out. I was like, that should be in this.
Crazy.
I always feel like Indiana Jones, like that belongs in a museum. Like, how dare you throw shit like that out?
I know. I don't. They could have. I mean, they could have made some money off of it.
You got a hard out in 10 minutes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
Minutes, even
But
15 minutes.
sorry, this is so fun. Please come back another time.
When
I'll invite you
literally
now, anyways, because this is great. I just really quickly, what were your thoughts on the Valley this season coming out of it?
So it's so funny you bring this up. I was thinking, I'm a nightmare. I was thinking about this on the train today. I was like thinking about like what Bravo is becoming and what direction we're going in, especially as people who make content that's related to these shows. Like New Jersey is a hard show to like sustain content out of because it's just no one is happy about talking about it. It's tough. The Valley felt like a rejuvenation of like Bravo to me. It's like people living authentically and not being afraid to meddle in like the mess of relationships on camera, and they kind of just had nothing to lose. It just made for, I think, one of the best breakout seasons we've had on Bravo in a long time, of like a new show. Like I don't really know one that compares to it, thinking about it.
No, it actually, you can feel when something works, and this works. And I'm so curious to see where if they'll continue that magic and increase it in the second season, or if it'll potentially kind of fumble. But I think there's like all signs point to that these people are just as big of a mess in the Valley as they were in West Hollywood. What was your take on Janet? Because everybody seems to have a take on Janet now.
There's a rule. If you're in the Bravo community, you have to have a take on Janet because everyone has a take on Janet.
It seems like everybody has a take on Janet. Everybody's like, oh, she's evil. She's like an evil plotting person, or like, oh, I like her. Like, I mean, it seems like everybody has an extreme opinion about Janet.
Yeah, I liked her a lot in the beginning. I really don't like when people speakerphone and don't tell you that people are in the room. That pissed me off with her. Granted,
with her minions.
Yeah. The minion in the boots, give him friend of contract because I need him in the mix a little bit.
What is it? Your pink booted friend.
I'm upset. And oh my God, what's his name? What's his name? Zach. Frightens me, but I need him never to leave my screen. But Janet, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard because like she entered a season like 7 months pregnant, which is a wild way to start filming a television show. So
imagine like finally getting on reality TV, but you got to do it 7 months pregnant. Like that's like a double-edged sword.
Like I think she could probably live a little more authentically than she was this season because she was like navigating just the emotions of like, I mean, that was her authentic emotions, but like, I just mean like she's pregnant. So her emotions are heightened. Like it's a natural, like aspect of that. And I don't know. I'm curious to see what she's like as a new mom in the mix with the moms. Like I'm curious to see if she continues to like meddle in the drama or not. The meddling bothers me a little bit because she was the only one that felt a little sticky to me. Like that felt a little like we need to push something because Kristen and Jax are masters at it where it works for them because I think they're
sloppy. They're sloppy masters, though. They're sloppy masters where I think Janet thinks she is, and in some ways I think she is smarter than Jax and Dodie. And I know she likes to collect information. So I do find that interesting, but I do find it interesting for somebody that's not really familiar with shooting a show, episode after episode, if she's going to take all of our commentary, which I know she pays attention to. Will that potentially get her in her head where she's not going to even know how to interact? Because in my head, I would be like, okay, people think I'm a cunning villain, so I've got to be cunning. Like, how do I be cunning? Or will she be like, well, I want to be considered nice, so I've got to be nice in every scene. Like, I sometimes wonder if it's going to like, and I don't mean just Janet, but people that are coming back, like West Wilson. I'm curious where West is going to go this season because is he going to be so in his head about how the Bravo audience interprets him?
It's whenever you try to alter yourself for like to cater towards the audience, it doesn't really work. So I encourage all these people to just continue to be the most nightmare version of themselves.
That's it.
Because like if she tries to be nicer than she is, people are going to be like, you're so phony. Like you can't win if you're not like authentically nice in the ways that other people want you to be. You're just going to come across like you're trying too hard. Like, do you know, like Camille season 2 of Beverly Hills when she got so much hate for being, I think Andy Cohen's most savage read to a Housewife in a reunion was, "Hey Camille, what did it feel like to be on People Magazine's most hated woman in America?" Not great, Andy, but thanks for checking in. So I don't know, like I encourage them to just try to forge ahead as whatever their authentic version of themselves is. Because when you it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's the only way to go. And that's why I think Sheena actually works as a character, because even if you dislike Sheena, she is still herself 100%. And you kind of see that. So great advice to Janet and everybody on the Valley. Okay, as we almost finish here, we didn't get to music, but I know you are a music fan. Chappell Roan, Charlie XCX. We seem like to be in this summer of the female singer. Sabrina Carpenter just took over the #1 spot from herself with her new single. Are you into all of these female pop queens? What is your take on this? Because I was thinking the other day, I was like, they needed to just do a Lilith Fair again, but just with female pop singers.
Oh, they should do that. Absolutely. I mean, the gays would be rabid for it. Like truly. But
it would be amazing.
Yeah, no, it'd be fantastic. I'm into everyone you listed. I'm a fan of. I love. It's so fun to see like pop stars rise. Like I feel like we haven't seen. I guess Ariana Grande was kind of like our last big one that had this rise. Olivia Rodrigo had it a bit, but she's not as big as I think Chappell Roan is going to be like Gaga level big, which is like so cool to like see that transformation of like girl just trying to make good music and then sticking to her roots as good music and people appreciating it, and then her leaning. She has this cool aesthetic that's just like
It's the
specific to
aesthetic.
her.
It's
Like
the
her
aesthetic.
girl,
I would like how important that aesthetic is, because the music is fan
it is
flippin-tastic, but
so good.
the aesthetic tells so much of the story, and there's a little bit of fear in there that like young kids could potentially be scared of this person. And I mean
Yeah.
that as a compliment. Like back
Yes.
in the day when kids were scared of Boy George or Lady Gaga or like something that's a little off, but at the end you're like, oh, this is part of the artistry that tells the story. And that's where I think Chappell actually has it on some of these other people. Cause it's like, man, you got everything. You got the costume, and I mean, she was hanging out with Elton John this weekend. Did you see that
Yes,
picture together?
amazing. And I think you as a pop star, you need to be the artist that like some parents are like, I don't think you should listen to her. Like that's
Exactly.
that
Like, what
is
is this? What is this?
what is this? Like that means you're doing something right. We're like, and I really like Olivia Rodrigo. Like I think people just genuinely really love her. Like you know what I mean? But like
It's great. I mean, she's got great pop
the
music. I mean, she really
oh
does.
yeah, I don't mean to be trashing her. I just mean like she makes really great music, but I find that Chappell's like pushing it a bit. Like she's trying new things and sticking to her guns. Like her on Jimmy Fallon and that whole get up, like
Yeah.
just roasting Jimmy Fallon to his face, like is amazing. And her the way she performs these songs, she's so freaking good at this. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm so into it, and I really like that it's actually the rise of the pop star again, and I think it's great. I hope that people just don't pit them against each other, because I was
No,
the
no.
conversation is so
Yeah, I didn't
ridiculous
mean to do
around
that.
these
I
things.
did do that.
No, I didn't say you do that, but like sometimes, or like, oh, they're the Taylor Swift killer, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like everybody can literally exist. They're all like, it's all good music.
Now, the only person I have a little beef with, and maybe this is going to get me in trouble on this podcast, is I want to understand and I want to listen and let me listen to the Swifties. And I'm a neutral like Taylor Swift person. This whole stuff with Charlie's album in the UK and then Taylor re-releasing her album, like came across so crazy to me and didn't come
So
across
what
like super supportive. And I'm curious about what the behind the scenes of that was.
So what he's referring to, you guys, is that every week Taylor Swift will come out with a new edition of Tortured Poets Department, and it'll keep her in that number one slot because people will rebuy it for like one or two new tracks or like a voice recording or whatever. And so she's now done this a couple of times where like Billie Eilish was kept from the top spot. Charlie XCX. Now, Charlie XCX, it doesn't necessarily work because Charlie XCX, even if Taylor hadn't have done that, would not have hit that number one slot still from what I had read. But Charlie XCX's album, you guys, Brat, is incredible. It's 31 minutes. It's really, really fun. But yeah, there is something ridiculous in that of like, okay, Taylor has now held the top spot for over 9 or 10 weeks, I think. And at some point, like, I get it. You are a juggernaut, but at some point, like, how much longer are you? I don't know. I even have questions about that part of it. I would love to hear somebody ask her about that, but I don't even know if she does interviews anymore. But that part it makes me, I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, especially as someone who like had a whole era about like girl gang, like supporting like her group of girls. It's like,
don't become the thing that you hated.
Yeah. I just want her. I want to. And maybe we're asking too much out of someone we don't know. So I understand that point of view too. It's like, let her live her life. Like she's just wants to release this music, but she's a business. And so she's doing it for a reason. And I want to see all the girls win, not just like two of the girls, Beyonce and Taylor. So
yeah, I mean, I want to know what that reason is. But anyways, Tom Hamlett is going to tell you all the reasons for everything pop culture, reality TV. He is a one-stop shop for enjoyment with his podcast. Tell us everything where we can like support Dumpster Dive. But by the way, you just go subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But how else can we support you, Tom?
Yeah, so you can follow me at the Tom Hamlett. I also have a podcast account, Dumpster Dive Pod. I just mostly post on my account now though, so check that out on Instagram. And then we have 3 episodes a week. We do Monday throwback episodes, Wednesday we do a pop culture deep dive. Half of that episode is on our main feed. You can get the full version on our Patreon. And then on Fridays is a reality recap or a check-in with like a Bravo Lab or interviews with my favorite people. So check
And
it out.
how often is your sister on now?
She's on just on our throwback recap. So she's on our Monday episodes. And then Wednesday, Fridays is me and others.
Well, your sister's amazing as well. Tell her I said hi, but thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun. This was just such a great way to start my Monday. And go support Tom, you guys. And we will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Ryan.
Bye.